starting linebacker on the Super Bowl team, literally the high point of my career, maybe of my athletic career of my life. And then 4 games into the contract, I blew my knee out, snapped the quad off my other knee, carted off the field, career over. Yeah, I'm being applauded for being so tough and so strong and crying myself to sleep like every night and sobbing and hiding in a dark room and, quite frankly, considering really bad alternatives because you just get to that dark place where you're like, how do I go on? People kept saying, you're so resilient, you're so strong, you're getting through all this. And I'm like, yo, I feel broken and hopeless and lost.
What was the moment where you decided, I'm done with this?
I didn't bounce back quickly. I struggled for a long time. I wanted to find a book that spelled it out for me. Do these things, you will be better. And after like 75 self-help books, you just realize okay, stop reading the books, start doing some of the stuff from the books, see what works. It is sort of about becoming the mad scientist of your own life. Nobody is immune from it. They might look immune, they might talk immune, they might act immune, but everybody's going through something.
So for the person who's sitting there going, I can't get myself to get unstuck, what do you say to someone who feels like they're in that situation?
I would say...
So welcome to the pod.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, this is Rob Morris. I'm going to read a little bio about you real quick.
Okay,
just as an intro, former NFL linebacker, Super Bowl champion. Your story is filled with struggles, injuries, deep personal loss, and you're now exploring resilience. You went from being the first round draft pick for the Colts, knee injury rookie year, getting back, getting to become a Super Bowl starter, and then a couple hours later, Super Bowl champion with Peyton Manning, and losing everything and rising to be the man we see here today. And we just want to dive in and see what was happening inside, hear some aha moments in your journey, some tools, what helped you navigate those moments, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah,
awesome. I'm glad our paths crossed. I love talking about how messed up we are and how amazing we can be kind of at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's funny. When someone hears that bio, they think, oh, this guy's got it figured out. Yeah. Like, would you say you've got things figured out? Or
No. No. I would say that, and the cool part about my journey and what I've sort of embraced doing podcasts and speaking is that I'm in it, like with the audience. And for me, that feels more authentic because there was a time in my life when I was speaking solely as like the Super Bowl champion and this wellness expert. And quite frankly, what I was saying and the way I was living was not aligned. And that made me miserable. And so now I think that I'm living a bit more aligned with what I'm preaching, and it feels good. So, but I am no expert, but I have learned some lessons through some tough stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to learn it.
Awesome.
It sucks.
Well,
but when you're in it, but if you can come out the other side, there's some good stuff.
Yeah. That could be at the same time very disconcerting for people. Very like, well, if this guy doesn't have it figured out, then who has a chance of having it figured out? But at the same time, it might give some people some hope on like, well, this guy seems to have it all, but like, he's still figuring it out. That's okay.
Yeah, it should be something to celebrate. Here's what I found out. Here's one of the beauties of playing in the NFL, winning a Super Bowl, and having some notoriety, particularly in this area. You get to meet interesting people, movie stars, other athletes, big time people. I played with some of the most famous athletes in the world. I've been around, the uber wealthy, and there's one common theme. They're all struggling with something, and it's different for everybody. You don't meet people who don't struggle. Read a book. If you've read a biography, an autobiography, what is the theme? It's overcoming some challenge.
Yeah.
No book starts out like my life was amazing, and then it got more amazing, and then it was the best.
What a boring book.
There's some trial or tribulation, and you realize like, oh, yeah, these are people, and they just have an extraordinary talent.
Yeah.
And they're also dealing with the same menial stuff that we are.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, take us back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit of context for you growing up and kind of what that looked like a little bit and how that played into your story.
I grew up kind of small townish, Nampa, Idaho. Grew up, typical family, middle of 5 kids, super sports family. My dad was a Vietnam veteran, tough guy. I'm certain he was dealing with his own struggles from that. There was PTSD and stuff was not treated back then. And as a result, he pushed us pretty hard as kids. I had a wonderful mother who, did everything she could to keep us kind of on the straight and narrow. But for I don't know if it's because I just had a knack for sports and I was really good at it, but I think I got kind of pushed the most. And I think that I was, in some respects, sort of bred to be a football player or groomed to be a football player. That's all I did as a kid. I watched these VHS tapes, and my dad ran the youth football program, the youth wrestling program. He coached baseball. So we were constantly going with sports, which was both a great thing and a thing that has cost me thousands of dollars in therapy later in life. So, it's funny to look back at stuff and be like, oh man, this is why I was successful, and this is why I'm crazy at the same time. And so that was a bit how it was. And I just, at a young age, I realized that I was pretty good at this sport, football, and I ended up getting recruited and actually originally committed to Stanford when Bill Walsh was the coach, legendary coach Bill Walsh. And I remember sitting across from him with my dad and asking him, like, hey, if you guys are going to offer me a scholarship, like, when would it be? I didn't know how good I was, I think. And he's like, well, right now. And I'm like, I'm coming, And then Lavelle Edwards swooped in late, and I kind of changed my mind. And so that's kind of the story of how I got to BYU.
This is the part where it's like this is going up to the top of the first mountain, I think. So
the first big mental breakdown. Okay, we'll build up to that.
Well, yeah.
Yes, I mean, but that was same with college. It was football. I regret that I didn't have more of a social life, and I didn't date much, and I didn't study a lot. And that single-handed focus on football, again, it was good and it was bad, because I think what happens is you start to adopt that as your identity. And so when that ends, or when you fail at that, you feel like a personal failure. You feel broken, you feel lost. And that's, what happened to me when my NFL career ended a few years later. But yeah, I think in terms of, this topic of perfectionism, that plays in big when you're sort of being built from such a young age. And I started to find my value not in just inherent worth, but in winning, or like being on the top step at the wrestling tournament, and I started to think, I don't know that anyone was responsible for this, but I started to think like, oh, I'm worth something if I win. Mm-hmm. People will notice me if I'm great, right? People will like me if I'm great. If not, I'm not sure that I have much else to offer the world.
Did you have any moments in that where like you did not succeed? Not really.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you fast forward to the NFL, I was very successful in high school and very successful in college, and I got to the NFL my rookie year, and I was drafted in the first round by the Colts. This high-powered offense, and the defense wasn't great, and I was kind of drafted to kind of come in and be like the quarterback of the defense, and I got there and I was just like, whoa, these guys are different. They're fast, like everyone's good. In high school, it's like the best player on your team maybe goes D1. Mm-hmm. And then the very best player on your football team, your college team, maybe gets drafted.
Yeah.
But now you're in the NFL and you got everybody who is the best their whole life.
Yeah.
And then I had a pretty severe knee injury that ended my rookie year. And that was the first time that I started to question, like, what's going on? Like, what if I fail?
Yeah.
What if I'm not successful at this level?
So it was the first time you had a decent failure in what you had as your identity.
Yeah, which is interesting. When you start to look at being a first-round draft pick and getting hurt as some kind of failure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like the bar keeps going up. And there was a point in college, I remember my good friend John Tate, who was also a first-round pick. I remember a time in college having a conversation with him of like, man, if we can just make it in the NFL, free agent, like we can just be special teams guys. And then you're a junior, senior, you come in, you're like, oh, maybe I can get drafted. And then it's maybe I can get drafted in the first round. And then it's maybe I could be a starter. Maybe I could be an all-pro bubble. And it never stops.
Yeah.
You can never reach that end goal. And so when you don't have identity outside of it, there's bound to be a big collapse. And it's real common. It's not unusual.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you have the injury. This is your first big failure.
Yeah.
How did that feel inside? And what were you thinking? What were you experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, it was a severe knee injury. My quad just ripped off of my knee, and it's very uncommon. Long rehab. My coach was a coach at the time, Jim Mora. I don't know if you remember the whole playoffs, that whole, but he was crazy. He wanted me to get back quick.
Yeah.
It's not something you come back from quick, but I battled my way back. And actually led the team in tackles my second year, the following year. So it came back pretty well.
Yeah, let me just rip this off, and then why don't I just go outplay everyone?
But there was a lot of questions about, how I was like, will I be as fast or, came back, led the team in tackles my second year. And then, year 3, 4, and 5, I had a 5-year contract. They were solid. They were decent. There was some hard times, some good times, some ups and downs. But certainly wasn't the first 5 years that I was hoping for or that I was expecting. And then I really think my free agent year after year 5, that's when I really hit my first sort of life adversity.
Okay.
And I became a free agent, and I thought I'm going to sign a new contract extension and it'll be great. And if I don't sign with the Colts, I'll sign somewhere else. And it was crickets. Nobody was calling. The Colts were dealing, I think they were working through Edgerrin James' contract, and I was like, what is happening? I realized I'm not Ray Lewis, but I've had 5 pretty solid years, and I think the knee injury was scary, and I had a few shoulder surgeries, and I think that scared some people off. But ultimately, after 5 years, I just signed a 1-year deal to come back to the Colts, minimum wage, to be a backup player and a special teams player.
Wow.
And never in my life had I been a backup player.
Yeah.
I think in any sport at any time. And it was like, what in the heck has happened? My whole dream is shattered. But you're faced with this decision point, right? A lot of guys, if they're a high pick, and they lose their starting job, they sort of fade into obscurity. And I embraced the role, became a really good special teams player, became a special teams captain and kind of a leader, and was a backup middle linebacker, and did that, year 6. And in the off season, kind of the same thing. Not a lot of offers. Colts reached out, signed another 1-year deal. Same thing, come back, backup player. I liked Indianapolis, so I did it. And then we started out the season 9-0, and this is when my story starts to really get interesting. We start off my 7th year, I think 9-0 or 10-0. We were the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl, but we had some kind of real cracks in our defense, right? We go to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are not a good team, and they beat us 48-14 or something. They rushed for 300 and some yards. So much so that a reporter was like, they would have ran for more, but the end zone kept getting in the way. Right? So we're like, whoa, it was an Indianapolis Colts reporter. And so after that loss, there was kind of widespread panic in the community. And I mean, with the media, Coach Denji was great because he was super steady.
Yeah.
And he just said, we're not going to make wholesale changes. We're going to do less, if anything. But I went into work on Wednesday morning to breakfast. And Leslie Frazier, our secondary coach, DB's coach, he asked me if I had seen Murph, my linebackers coach. And I was like, well, no, I haven't talked to him yet. And he says, you should go talk to him, like right now before practice.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to him. He told me, hey, we're going to tweak the defense and we're going to move you from backup middle linebacker to outside linebacker in this one little tweak. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll get a few extra plays, you know, whatever. The more he talked, the more I started to realize, like, wait a minute. I think they're moving me from backup middle linebacker to starting strong side linebacker, like moving me ahead of the three guys that are already there.
Yeah.
I've never played this position. It's still a linebacker, but it's a totally different angles, everything. And we have a Monday night football game. So I have roughly 4 working days to learn a new position and to go and play.
So you'd never played that before?
Never played that. Not one snap of outside linebacker. So I learned it, played well. We went on this epic playoff run. I started all the rest of the games, started in the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. People are like, I'm getting, newspapers are writing about me, like the coaches are kind of giving me credit for being part of this big resurgence, and it was like my career was resurrected.
You made it.
I was back.
You're back, baby.
Back. And that had been a bittersweet year. You know, we had lost a set of triplets that year, me and my ex-wife. And so it was nice to have something positive happen to us. And it was amazing. As a result, I got a contract extension, right? Got some money, got 3 more years. Dude, I was coming back, starting linebacker on the Super Bowl team. Literally the high point of my career, maybe of my athletic career of my life. And then 4 games into the contract, I blew my knee out, snapped the quad off my other knee, carted off the field, career over, never made it back. And then that's when the proverbial, the bottom fell out of my life, you know.
Dang.
And so it was a crazy, crazy year.
Yeah. So talk about, obviously when you get injured, they're like, hey, let's diagnose it. When they finally were like, hey, here's what that means, what did they say, and what was your reaction? How did that feel? Oh,
I knew what it meant. I knew on the field because I had done it. It was the same injury my rookie year on the other knee.
Okay.
So I knew I was done for the season. I knew it was going to be tough to come back. I was older.
Yeah.
And they, you know, you go on injured reserve and you miss the rest of the year. And then in the off season, they did exactly what I thought they would do. They called me and they cut me. I just signed a new contract. It's kind of a cutthroat world.
Yeah.
And I thought I might try to come back and realize like this isn't happening.
Yeah.
And so that was it.
Done. Career over.
It's just done. There's no celebration, no retirement party. No, I had my wife at the time was pregnant, and so we were just focused on that. Within, a year, I was in essentially the mental institution, the university neuropsych ward, severely addicted to substances and depressed and overweight and lost and broken, and my marriage was falling apart. And that was because I had lost my identity. I didn't have purpose anymore. I didn't know who I was. I was completely lost at that point in my life.
Obviously, you've changed. What was the moment where you decided, I'm done with this?
It was a long time later. It was many years later. I didn't bounce back quickly. I struggled for a long time. Struggled with sobriety, struggled with mental health issues, deep depression and anxiety and panic attacks, and my marriage ended. But I have this survival instinct, I think, where I could survive, but I wasn't necessarily thriving. And that's what a lot of my work now is to like, okay, there's a better way than just surviving.
Yeah.
But I survived. I started working out again. I started teaching classes at a gym, and then I eventually owned the gym. And then I got referred a client that owned a big tech cosmetics company, and he recruited me to go start a wellness center there. And then I, moved up the ladder until I was a vice president of culture and community, and really loved doing that. And so I was building my life back piece by piece. But again, I was still like in survival mode, white knuckle mode, still not understanding my purpose, who I am, what do I have to offer the world. And, that continued for, I retired in 2008, essentially, was my last, 2007 was the last year. And I left this job, this vice president job, in 2019, I think, after 5 or 6 years there, to pursue a master's in mental health counseling. Because I thought, well, I like the parts of my job where I'm interacting with people, and maybe this is another way that I can help people. So get all the way through the 2-year program, 2.5-year program. I'm now finished with the coursework. I'm in the clinical setting. I have like 2 months to go before I graduate. And I'm struggling again. I'm having panic attacks. The cognitive issues from all the concussions are adding up. I'm getting confused and lost in sessions. I'm having severe physical pain. So dropped out of the master's class, the master's course, which felt like another massive failure.
Yeah.
A few months later, had back surgery where they replaced the disc and they cut me open from the stomach and then the back. And then about 4 months after that, I was out with my weighted backpack on, rucking on a trail. I fell. So I'm doing rehab for my back. I fall, tear all the tendons in my right shoulder. So I have to have surgery on my shoulder, which was the 5th surgery on this shoulder. So that was December 1. And about mid-January, I'm rehabbing my back and my shoulder. And I start having throat pains and chest pains. And I ignored them for a while. Eventually went to a doctor. Do tests, lead to more tests, lead to more tests, until one of the doctors is like, look, you need open heart surgery, and you need it like soon. This is 2 months after shoulder surgery, which was 4 months after back surgery, which was a couple months after dropping out. I'm in full nervous system breakdown mode. I'm afraid. So I ended up having a double bypass open heart surgery. I mean, I'm young, I'm healthy, it was nutty. And so again, I felt like my life was falling apart. And so worked my way back from the heart surgery. 6 months later, go to Lake Powell with some buddies to wake surf. Very first run of the day, I'm celebrating being alive and being healthy. I get the rope gets tight, and I come out of the water and my hamstring snaps off my pelvis. So at this point, I'm just like, what is happening, And you asked the question, when was the point where things changed?
Yeah.
That was the point. After that surgery, I was like, I have to change. I have to do something. I have to figure this out. I have to understand why I'm struggling so much, right? If I'm such a survivor and I'm so tough, people kept saying, you're so resilient, you're so strong, you're getting through all this. And I'm like, yo, I feel broken and hopeless and lost. And that was the impetus, really, the impetus for changing was pain and suffering.
So from the outside, people saw, hey, he's got his second career. Oh, he's got all these surgeries. That's got to be really rough. But this is Rob Freight Train Morris. He can get through it. This is he can push through anything. But on the inside, you felt the opposite.
Yeah, I'm being applauded for being so tough and so strong, and crying myself to sleep like every night, and sobbing and hiding in a dark room, and quite frankly, considering really, really bad alternatives, because you just get to that dark place where you're like, how do I go on? This hip surgery was just over a year ago. So that's when I say I'm not like this expert that's been doing this for 10 years. I'm on the fly learning how to be resilient. But part of my deep dive was I started reading books, podcasts, doing workshops, anything I could find about what resilience was. And what emerged out of that, and what I'm learning, is that this is a skill. This is not like something you're born with. It's not like willpower. It's not about grit and determination, although that's a subset of it.
Yeah.
It's a skill that you can learn. There are elements of it. And as I've started to incorporate those into my life, I'm like, oh, you can be a survivor and be happy and find joy. And life doesn't necessarily get easier, but it can feel better.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how I've come full circle.
I really like that. Resilience is a skill.
Yeah, and I mean, the difference is, I've always been a learner. I've always loved to read and study. The difference is now I'm a practitioner of it. I'm actually applying the things. I do breath work, and I meditate, and I journal, and I go to a men's group, and I try to stay connected to people. I just got back from Finland like 10 days ago, up in the Arctic Circle, doing a thermal exposure breathwork survival skills retreat with a bunch of crazy Dutch people. So, I mean, I'm going and like I'm experiencing life, and I'm putting into action these tools. And so it's one thing to know the tools. It's another thing to start operationalizing them, because once you operationalize them, it starts to impact your biology. And if you know anything about sort of your nervous system, I was in this sympathetic state, this fight or flight for 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, I don't know.
Yeah. However
many years. This is a biology problem. We tend to think of things like, oh, there's mental health, and yeah, mental health, great. But it's your whole being, your whole body.
Yeah.
And so it's taken me a solid year to get my nervous system to just chill out a little bit,
Yeah.
And I think that happens to a lot of us, and we feel like we're crazy. And what we have is a biology issue that we need to solve. So I've put a lot of work into, different modalities, different types of things. Therapy is great to a point, but you need to address also your physical well-being too. And that's what I mean when I say it's a skill.
Yeah.
There are practices that you can go do that literally impact your biology.
Yeah.
That then have an upstream effect on your mental health.
Yeah. So you're talking about this is a holistic healing sort of thing, where like if you just go to therapy and just talk about it, for some people that have nervous system issues and are stuck in or feel stuck in their life, and that's manifesting like, they don't want to leave out of the couch, like a bunch of different ways that moving your body and also, addressing the nervous system issues in conjunction with therapy can be really helpful.
Yeah, I think so. And what I came to believe during my time when I was trying to become a therapist in my master's degree, really is this: no good therapist will tell you that therapy is the only way to go. Any therapist that's worth anything will say, yes, do therapy and exercise and eat right and journal and do these other things. So if you would have used the term like holistic health to me a year ago, I'd been like, come on, don't bring that woo-woo. Like, don't talk to me about breath work and yoga and what manifest. I mean, I made a vision board this year with my daughter.
Yeah.
Like I would have never done that.
Yeah. You wouldn't be caught dead with the vision board.
No. And I wouldn't have been caught dead doing, runes in Finland, or thinking about getting in touch with my heritage and my ancestors, or the energy that happens, because I'm sort of like, show me the science behind it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, well, okay. If making a vision board puts me in a state of mind to make me recognize, no, I deserve these good things.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you put it on a board and then you get it. But if that helps me to change my mindset, why not do it? I just think now that it is sort of about becoming the mad scientist of your own life. Like I wanted to find a book that spelled it out for me. Do these things, you will be better. And after like 75 self-help books, you just realize like, okay, stop reading the books, start doing some of the stuff from the books, see what works.
Yeah.
In my resilience framework, that's called response diversity. It's like, do we have a diverse set of responses that we can use with different adversity? Because adversity is complex, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's severe, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have social support, sometimes you have perceived social support. So for every adversity we encounter, there's so many factors that why would we think going to therapy will be the answer for that?
Yeah.
It might be for one piece, but so might a cold plunge or a breathwork class or journaling or going out for a night with friends.
Yeah. So the only way in your experience to know what will help is to just try it.
I think so. That's my experience.
Yeah.
You know, there's evidence-based treatments that I kind of grew to love and hate in my master's program. Because if you think about like, what's an evidence-based treatment? Well, it's a treatment that works on more than half the people, roughly.
Yeah.
Well, what about the other half?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, yes, some stuff might work. So yes, you should start off with the stuff that's sort of evidence-based. That's a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
And then you should be open to some magic, some mystical stuff, some physical stuff, some diet stuff.
I've had a lot of the similar experiences where it was like therapy and it's like, hey, yeah, it's important. Like if you just go to therapy and you don't work out,
it doesn't work.
It does not work because your body is telling you, I still feel this way, even though you can know it intellectually, like you were talking about, and not truly know it because you haven't actually done it. For me, it opened up when I started actually exercising and doing that consistently. That opened up my entire world.
So much complex trauma or whatever simple trauma. People are down on the word trauma. Like being human is traumatic. Like let's just accept that.
Wait, not everyone has perfect parents and the perfect everything and all the, like, there's not someone who has it all figured out.
The people with the most perfect parents seem to have the most trauma. But it's like so much of that lives in your body. And I think there's some pretty solid science behind that. And so much of it gets stuck in there. And there's just a lot of tools that you can use, and look, people have different beliefs on different things, but there's a lot of evidence around things like plant medicine and, like you said, exercise and cold exposure. And so, I say find what works with your sort of personal ethos and what aligns with your values and do those things on a consistent basis. Yeah. And I think just the fact too that you're doing something makes you feel better. Like I said, I'm 50. I really don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Every morning I wake up a little bit anxious, like what am I? But doing this resilient stuff and podcast and speaking, like it's something, and I enjoy it, and I'm moving. I have momentum, and being stuck is just a lack of momentum. There's nothing else to it. Like, do you want to get unstuck? Then move.
So
is your car stuck in the mud? Like, then have someone help you tow it out. That's how you get unstuck.
I love that. So for the person who's sitting there going, yeah, but you don't understand my situation. This has been a problem for years, and I can't get myself to get unstuck. What do you say to someone who feels like they're in that situation?
I would say, what can you do? You know how it started for me? Going on walks and hikes. I mean, I'm not like a diehard go to the gym guy. Matter of fact, I'd never go to the gym.
Really?
No. Because I've had all these surgeries, so I haven't been able to, but now I fell in love with hiking and walking. And I ruck and I put a weighted backpack on and I go to the gym once a month, maybe. But that's what works for me. Walking, hiking, being active, doing breath work, some stretching. But I think the people that say that you don't know my situation, I can't get myself to do that, need to ask that question. Well, what can you get yourself to do? What are you capable of doing? Like, everybody can go on a walk. Yeah. Almost everybody, Yeah. I've said that. Matter of fact, I've spent a good chunk of my life saying that. It's just not. I might also say to the person, it's not true. Like you can change that. Like we are capable of change, but it's hard because you need to repeatedly do it.
Yeah.
Because what we've done on the flip side is we've repeatedly done the opposite. So our brain learns patterns. Our brain doesn't give a rip about being happy.
Yeah.
There's no interest in that. It gives a rip about surviving. So a lot of the things that we've adapted, the coping strategies, they're not healthy. We don't need them. They're about protection.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that we're actually, there's no saber-toothed tiger in the bushes.
Right.
But we still feel that way sometimes. I like the analogy of an operating system, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have new hardware and we're running on this ancient operating system. And how do you update the operating system? You do it by continually doing new habits, new things. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So like if we think about a phone, if you're running the original operating system of an iPhone right now, it wouldn't be anything that it is today.
Doesn't matter what your hardware is.
And so similarly, we also need software updates with like how we've approached things.
Yeah. I mean, I got those updates because I started to geek out on like the neuroscience piece, and I really got into meditation about 10 years ago. Okay. And as part of my meditation practice, I read a ton of books. Look, I think this is huge. If you don't meditate, start. But don't start just by meditating. Get a good book on meditation. Learn what it is. What people are all the time, they're telling me, like, I can't meditate. I can't
sit still.
I can't quiet my mind.
Yeah.
Nobody can quiet their mind. Ask the best monks on the planet in India or in Thailand.
Yeah.
How long they can silence their thoughts. And a good one will be like, no, it's not about silencing your thoughts. It's noticing that your thoughts are there. It's recognizing that there's some chaos. And in recognizing that, something happens. And that's when we become aware. So meditation is not about not thinking. It's about recognizing that you're thinking and bringing it back to something else. And I think that's life too. A lot of life is like, it's not about always being perfect, or it's not about always having everything right. It's about recognizing when you're getting off track and being able to course correct a little bit over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Man, I wake up anxious. I wake up anxious a good chunk of the mornings. And I wake up like wanting to lay on the couch and do nothing and cry a fair amount of the time. But I get up and I do it. I read and I try to wake up early. I try to journal every day. I meditate every day. I read a little bit. I try to have some momentum. I try to contact another human being. Like I have pretty solid guiding principles or core values. It's connection, it's alignment, curiosity, and momentum. And so when I'm stuck, when I'm feeling the way that person felt, like you just don't know, I can be like, okay, what's the problem? Am I connected to other people? A lot of times that when I'm struggling, the answer is no. I'm a hermit. I'm being a hermit.
Yeah.
Am I in alignment with what I'm preaching? If I'm really struggling, sometimes the answer is no. You're not doing the things you know it to be true. Am I getting curious about my life? No, you're judgmental about your life.
Yeah.
Right? And do I have momentum? No, you're not moving toward it. So it's very simple. Like, figure out what your 2, 3, 4 guiding principles are, and it's a litmus test. And when you're struggling, you can just look at those. Core values are tough because everyone wants to have them, and companies put them on their wall, and that's why I like the concept of guiding principles. Because to me, your core values should be the litmus test for getting unstuck.
Interesting.
Okay, if I have a core value of honesty, and I'm really down in the dumps, does being honest help me get out of the dumps? If the answer is yes, then I think that's the true core value, right? If you're somebody who thrives on connection and that helps get you out of the dumps, that's a core value. But if you've just assigned some, word, we put these words on there, whatever.
What you hope to be.
Yeah, what you hope to be.
Yeah.
And if it's not actionable, it's not a core value. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't need 8, you need 2.
Yeah.
if they work.
Yeah.
You know?
2, 4, a small enough number.
I
that
think
it's
I have 4 that I'm like, I know if these are going on all cylinders, then I'm good.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling wonky, there's probably a couple of them that I've swept.
Very cool. That's a very interesting way of looking at it. I like that a lot. Talk to me about how you've been building your identity or discovering who you are. Because I feel like for my life, I've been stuck for most of my life. And then when I finally started to come out of it, I was like, I don't know who I am. Yeah. That's how I felt. And so what's been your experience in like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what's going on, to like kind of building your identity, who you are and what you believe in?
Yeah, the first big piece was that I had this aha moment that there's nothing to fix. I don't need fixed. I had a really interesting experience where it became really clear to me that the answer was to stop trying to fix yourself and start trying to get the rhythm of your life back. And so how do I work my anxiety into the rhythm of my life? How do I see that this is kind of part of me? It's in there, like, right, it's not going away. I mean, everyone has moments. So how do I allow that to flow with the other stuff?
So how do you live with anxiety? Not how do I get rid of it entirely?
I think you can take steps to try to remove it. Like my anxiety's down massively, just in the last 6 months probably.
Yeah.
But it rears its ugly a lot. And in those times, I have to take a deep breath and not want to just like run it out of the room, but just understand what it is. Instead of thinking what's wrong with me, I can think what happened to me that's making me feel like this,
Yeah.
A lot of people have had tough childhoods. Maybe you've suffered from abuse or neglect, and then you get older and you have these problems. You're like, what's wrong with me? What? Or we see other people like, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
What an idiot. I think reframing it to, what happened to me? Or I wonder what happened to that guy that makes him act like this. And we have some wacky stuff going on in the world, particularly in politics. It's like, you can hate and be angry. You can be like, curious, what happened to these people that has made them so pompous and selfish? And I think there's some compassion, and there's self-compassion in that for me, to try to think back, okay, where is this coming from? Oh, this is coming from a poor understanding of my identity as a kid. And so I've done a lot of work trying to kind of go, it's very woo-woo, kind of go back to like sort of reparent myself. Yeah. And to give myself like a different experience, a different feeling to go. It's very similar to like the EMDR concept.
I've done both of those. Yeah. And it's changed my life.
Powerful stuff, yeah. There's something called inquiry and compassionate inquiry that I've done some of, which is you literally go back and you feel these tough emotions, and then you reverse engineer this story, and then you re-feel stuff. And that's been big. So I'm not answering your question about identity.
No, you're good. This is very helpful. Okay. I think your question with like what happened to them in my life, I would have asked that in a judgmental way. Yeah. Instead of the curious way that you're talking about. Yeah. So changing judgment from to curiosity is what it sounds like. Yeah,
100%. This is a Ted Lasso principle all the way,
Yeah.
But what I've done to reshape my identity, and I'll be really frank and upfront, is I still struggle a lot with the identity thing. Yeah. It impacts my relationships. I have a hard time thinking that I can add value. It impacts my my relationships. I've not had a lot of success like dating, because sometimes I still am trying to figure out like what value do I bring outside of being this ex-football player. And so now I'm like, wait, I can embrace that past and embrace that version of Rob, and also recognize that, gosh, maybe I have a voice to add to the world, and maybe there is some deep value in me outside of sports. And so I'm in the process of reestablishing my identity, but man, the self-compassion piece, that's tough. I don't know that I have like the best answer for how do you do that. I did some mirror work where I looked in the mirror, and it was the hardest thing ever. This woman I work with, she kind of challenged me to do it. And it's just looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Like, I'm sorry for the way that I've treated myself. Yeah. That was some powerful, powerful stuff for me. Very, very difficult. One of the most difficult things I've ever done, to look at myself in the mirror and say, I forgive you. Like, I love you. Yeah, so awesome. I don't know. I hesitate to recommend that to people, but if you want a challenge, like look into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's been helpful. And then another big thing for me is I try not to believe this. I try to listen more to what the people around me say, because they're a better judge of me and my character than I think I am.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to like beat myself up a little bit. And the people around me are like, dude, you're amazing. And
you don't see it.
And so, well, I'm learning to see it, but no, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because, even culturally, sometimes you're taught to like, oh no, it's all about everyone else. It's about serving everyone else.
Yeah.
Like it's about losing yourself. It's not. Look, I get where that's coming from. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no good to anyone else if I can't value and appreciate and love myself. And so I'm learning that slowly and incrementally. But I mean, I've had 49 years of the other way around. Why am I going to flip the switch in 6? People want to go to therapy or jump in a cold plunge or do one session of something and be better.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, you spent
decades,
the better part of your life building this false persona. It's going to take a minute to build the new one. So I'm in the early stages of building it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like where it's headed.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
If someone watching this feels like, hey, I'm not exactly sure what I'm about, and I'm trying these new things, and it's uncovering things, like that's a process that once you start, like if you've been stuck for most of your life and depressed and anxiety, and you start to do the work, you'll start to realize, like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And it opens up this really cool opportunity to discover yourself and what you're about, and the value that you bring to the world and your unique experience. And that's cool to hear that you're in the process of it, and that it's okay to be in the process, figuring it out.
Well, I once heard someone say happiness comes in 90-second intervals. But we're programmed to think of like, I want to be happy all the time. It just doesn't work like that. I don't think it works like that for anybody.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we got to embrace these little moments and recognize when we're in the dark spots, they also go. You know what the root of Buddhism is? The very core of Buddhism, the fundamental nature is everything changes, right? And our suffering comes from clinging and aversion, right? Yeah. We want to hold on to the things that we like, and we want to push away the things that we don't like.
Yeah.
The whole idea around, the Buddhist concepts that I'm really interested in, and mindfulness practice and meditation, is to not cling to stuff, is to recognize that this good feeling will come and it will go, and this bad feeling will come and it will go. Everything rises and everything falls away.
Yeah.
Easy to say, hard to operationalize, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're in something good, you don't want it to end. We want more and more and more. That's human nature.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And when things are bad, we want to get out of them quickly. That's also a problem, because you need to be in things, dealing with them, learning. Another part of my framework is the notion of intentional exposure to challenge. We need to be more intentional exposing ourselves to hard things. And then we learn, like, oh, wait, I can brush up against the edge of pain and be okay.
I'm okay. I survived.
Yeah. It's like blacksmithing. I did a blacksmithing course, right? The metal is hard and unflexible and unfinished until you expose it to the extreme heat of the forge. But then you can work it, but you need to expose it for the right amount of time. You can't leave it in there for too long or it becomes brittle. But if you don't leave it in long enough, you can't mold it, you can't work it. And so I think life is like that. We need to expose ourselves to challenge and recognize, okay, I need a recover mode.
Yeah.
Like I need to get out of this thing. I don't need to suffer anymore. And what happened to me was after all my surgeries and this heart surgery, I started to design my life to be really easy and simple. And that was a reasonable thing, but it wasn't helpful.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't bumping up against, I was just in survival mode. So I could survive a double bypass open heart surgery, but not like a little thing that would throw me off during the day. It was wild.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us have this capacity to survive the absolute storms of life, but we can barely make it through a normal day without getting anxious or depressed or.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's a human characteristic. You know, there's a survival instinct, but we got to learn the other piece too, which is, you know, how to find little moments of joy.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think again, spending most of my time in my life feeling stuck in that area, I minimized my life and made it smaller. Yeah. But what you're talking about is one of the steps that I did, which was incredible, is intentionally going after the things and doing the things that scare you.
Yeah.
And that once I did like one that I was really afraid of. So for me, skydiving was like my second big fear.
That's never happening for me.
And well, and that's fair. But for me, I was in therapy at the time, and it's like, hey, what's your biggest fear? And I'm like, let's not go down this road, right? And he was like, no, like what are one of your big ones? I'm like, you know, heights and whatever else. He's like, okay, cool. When you go skydiving, I'm like, I don't think you understand how this works. Yeah. This is my life, and I keep it like this, and you know, and I feel safe. And I decided to do it. And even if everyone else chickened out on the plane, I was going to do it. And so my mind calmed down, and there was like, oh, he's already decided. Yeah. And the moment I jumped out, it was incredible, and it felt amazing, and it just blew open my life, and I was just like, I can do hard things that scare the crap out of me, and I still survived. What else can I do?
And I think that's amazing, and I think that's not just mental. I think there's biology. Something happens to your body when you jump out of an airplane that your body goes, oh, that's not so bad. It's not all mental. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a beautiful example.
It's an extreme version, but like if something scares me, I have to step toward it.
Yeah.
So as silly as that sounds, like
no, it doesn't sound silly. Adversity is not danger, it's data. And that's what I hear you saying is like, oh, this feels tough. This is good information for me.
Yeah.
This is me. This is where I struggle with. I'm so afraid to fail at things that I won't try them.
Yeah.
And as a result, then you spend years of your life not having anything great. There's nothing like awful, but you just end up being middle of the road. And who wants that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah. That's how I spent most of my life. 100%. It was avoiding the things that I was afraid of doing because I was afraid of failing and all that stuff. So it's refreshing to hear from someone who's accomplished a lot, who is also having a similar internal experience about like, hey, I felt this way. I was scared to fail. Like, yeah, even though you didn't have failure until later in life, that's not necessarily everyone else's experience, but you're struggling with the same things. So that's encouraging to hear. On behalf of the listeners, that's encouraging to hear.
They all are, right? If you're a listener it's everybody. It is everybody. Nobody is immune from it. They might look immune. They might talk immune. They might act immune. But everybody's going through something, struggling in some way.
Yeah.
You know, and I fall into that trap. I do it a lot with dating. I'll be dating somebody. I'm like, she's perfect. She's amazing. Like, why does she want to be with me? She's not perfect, I promise. You'll find out if you stick around long. Like, none of us are. And so that's, I think, a big part of it, too, is to recognize, like, you know, we're all in this together. again, I keep referencing this framework, but another piece is optimal connectivity. Like we want to be connected in a way that optimizes relationships. We don't want to be over-connected, over-reliant on other people.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a time where we can reach out for help. And I think part of that is recognizing that you're not alone in your struggles.
Yeah.
Is that he's going through it, and that guy's going through it, and that billionaire's going through it, and that CEO is going through it.
Yeah.
And this custodian, he's dealing with it. Everybody has their own hard. It just might look different for some of us. And so when we think, you see someone who's accomplished great things, or who's climbed Mount Everest, or who's ran 100, this is this guy, the Iron Cowboy, he did 100 Ironmans in 100 days.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, how do I? Well, that's his hard.
Yeah.
My hard is going on a challenging hike. That's my hard. That's good. That's okay.
Yeah.
And I think he'll say the same thing. Matter of fact, I think that's where I heard that phrase from him speaking, like, everyone has their own hard. What's your hard? What can you bump up against?
Yeah. So whether that's, climbing Mount Everest or going on a walk.
Who cares?
Getting out of the house
for
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And breathing some fresh air. If that's the hardest thing you do in the day.
So that would be my advice. Let's go all the way back to that question.
Yeah.
To somebody who's sitting there thinking, you don't know, I just don't have the motivation. What's your hard? And then start to bump up against it. You don't got to accomplish it. If 1 mile walk is hard for you, maybe do a quarter mile. And then do it 5 times in a row, and then do a half. And then pretty soon, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I just walked 7 miles. And now you have a new hard, and it's 10 miles. And then the hard keeps going up. And so, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, don't try and do the whole thing all at once. Do the part that you can.
Yeah. Major thing that's held me back in my life is that I forget that everyone starts from zero. So I've failed to try new things because I'm like, well, I don't want to start at the bottom. I want to start at the top because that's where I finished at the top.
Yeah.
But then you're like, wait, why would you start at the top in business? You know nothing about business.
Yeah.
You got to start at the bottom. And so I've started to do that a little more, like, okay, how do I do this? How do I start like a coaching business or speaking? And I don't know. So I reach out to people and I ask questions. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome.
No, that's so great. Yeah, this has been a super refreshing conversation and just very eye-opening to it's one thing to hear someone or other people say, everyone struggles with this, everyone whatever. But when you hear someone who's accomplished so much say the same thing, you're like, well, maybe everyone is human. So
yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If any of the listeners or watchers want to know more about Rob, he's got an Instagram, Rob Morris 2.0.
Yep.
And then also does personal coaching and podcasts and public speaking. So if you need a good speaker and you want to learn more about his resilience framework.
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram, or you can email me, rob@robmorriscoaching.com.
Awesome.
Or go to the website, robmorriscoaching.com. It needs an upgrade, but it's something. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you so
man.
much.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.